Hey, I know how frustrating it can be when you're trying to pick the right air dryer for your shop and you're not sure if you're overspending or buying something that's just going to sit there half the time. I've had that same sinking feeling when I bought a unit that was too small for my compressor and ended up with moisture in the lines every other week. So before you click over to Amazon, let me walk you through whether the Ingersoll Rand 42 CFM non-cycling refrigerated dryer is the right fit for you or if you should keep looking. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. This dryer is designed to sit between your compressor and your air tools and strip out the moisture before it can rust your lines or ruin your finish. The headline spec is 42 CFM at 100 psi, which is big enough to handle a 25 HP compressor without throttling. What that really means in the shop is you can run a big rotary hammer or a dual-stage sander all day without the dryer kicking into a high-pressure alarm. I've seen smaller 20 CFM dryers choke when someone fires up a 10 HP die grinder on the same loop, so if you're running anything bigger than a 15 HP compressor, this one keeps the pressure drop under 3 psi. That's the difference between a tool that stalls and one that just keeps humming. One thing that's easy to miss is the non-cycling design. Most refrigerated dryers cycle their compressor on and off to save energy, but every time they restart you get a little temperature swing inside the heat exchanger. For a body shop that's spraying clear coat, that temperature swing can show up as haze on the final film. The Ingersoll Rand stays in the sweet spot without cycling, so the air temperature stays within a couple of degrees. I talked to a friend who runs a two-bay paint prep shop and he said switching to this model cut his respray rate by about 12% because the air was consistently dry and cool. If you're only running a small compressor for an impact wrench and a die grinder, you probably don't need that level of consistency, but if you're painting, powder coating, or running sensitive pneumatic gauges, the non-cycling feature is worth the premium. Energy efficiency is another place where this dryer quietly saves money. It's rated at 0.25 kilowatts per 100 CFM, which is about 30% lower than some of the older cycling dryers in the same class. Over a year of 40-hour weeks, that can drop your electric bill by a couple $100 depending on your local rates. The catch is the upfront cost. This unit lists for roughly twice what a basic 40 CFM cycling dryer goes for, so you're really paying for the non-cycling tech and the stainless heat exchanger. If you're on a tight budget and your shop only sees light use, you might be better off with a cheaper cycling model and just draining the moisture traps more often. But if your compressor runs more than 20 hours a week or you're feeding a paint booth, the efficiency pays for itself in under 2 years. Installation is straightforward if you've ever plumbed a compressor before. You'll need a dedicated inch NPT inlet and outlet, a condensate drain that's either gravity-fed or pumped, and a 115V outlet for the control board. The manual is clear, but the drain line orientation is fixed on the bottom, so if your compressor sits on a raised platform you'll need a short vertical run to get the condensate to flow out. I've seen guys try to jury-rig a side drain and end up with water pooling inside the cabinet, so plan the drain path before you bolt it down. The unit itself is heavy, about 140 pounds, so get a helper or use a pallet jack to lift it onto the mounting pad. Noise is another real-world factor. The non-cycling compressor runs at a steady hum around 68 dB, which is quieter than most cycling dryers that ramp up and down. That matters if your compressor room is right next to the office or if you're running night shifts. I measured it with a cheap SPL meter and it was barely louder than the compressor itself, so you won't need extra acoustic panels just to keep the peace. Where this dryer doesn't shine is portability. It's not something you're going to wheel out to a job site every weekend. The dimensions are 24 by 20 by 36 inches, so it's basically a mini fridge with legs. If you're a contractor who needs a dryer that can live in the back of a van, you'll want to look at a smaller 10 CFM unit with quick connect fittings. Also, the warranty is 2 years, which is shorter than some competitors that offer 3 or 5. Ingersoll Rand covers parts but not labor if you have to pull it apart yourself, so factor that into your long-term